Hi all, welcome back to my lecture series on strategic management, and we were discussing environmental analysis, second chapter. And in environmental analysis, there are two important things which we already covered in internal environment analysis and external environmental analysis. And now there is another tool which will help us to analyze the industry, where in which industry we can start our company, whether is it good to enter into automobile industry or whether it is good to enter into a steel manufacturing industry or cement or any fast moving consumer goods industry. So how, so to do that, Porter has suggested five forces model. So that will help us to understand the level of competition in the industry, within that industry. And by seeing those factors, five forces, company can decide whether long-term profitability is achievable in the industry or not. This was proposed by Harvard Business School professor Michael E. Porter. Okay, so this is all about the Porter's five forces is a frequently used guideline. It is a guideline, it is a framework which says that okay, five factors should be analyzed before getting into any industry. Okay, so these are the frequently used guidelines for evaluating the competitive forces that influence a variety of business sectors. Okay, it is a framework for analyzing the competition within an industry. It is specific to industry. It is nothing to do with the global factors or other environment. Whether that particular industry is profitable, will be profitable in future or not, those things will be analyzed with Porter's model. Okay, five factors. What are those five factors model or five forces? The first one is here industry rivalry. How is the competition within the company? Threat of entry, bargaining power of customer, threat of substitute, and then power of suppliers, bargaining power of suppliers. So these are the five factors: industry rivalry, threat of entry, bargaining power of customers, threat of substitute, bargaining power of suppliers are five factors which will impact the which we need to analyze for an industry analysis. Okay, the basic purpose of using this model is to determine the intensity of competition and profitability level in an industry. If you want to enter into an automobile industry, how these five factors are there, and will it be a profitable in future and other thing. That's the basic purpose behind using this five forces model. And when we do this five factor analysis or a five forces analysis, we will be able to create unique selling proposition. What my competitors are doing, what kind of raw material, at what cost I'm getting, what are the substitute. By doing all that analysis, we can create proper unique selling proposition to a customer and strategies and other processes of a company. So this is the basic purpose of five forces model. I hope you guys are clear with Michael Porter's five forces model. Michael Porter was Harvard University professor and he proposed a model for industry analysis. And in this, he asked us to analyze five factors or review five factors: industry rivalry, five forces rather, industry rivalry, threat of entry, bargaining power of customer, bargaining power of supplier, and threat of substitute. The basic purpose behind this is to determine the intensity of competition and profitability level in an industry, and it helps in setting up unique selling propositions, strategies, and processes. Let's see these factors one by one. Threat of new entry. What does it mean? Threat of new entry. What it is? Threat of new entry is if someone as a new businessman, say for example, you yourself wants to start a business. Okay, if you want to if you want to start a small shop, okay, with 3 lakhs to 5 lakh investment, then it is easy to start, right? So anyone, okay, you start a business. If your business is good, next day another party B will also come and start a similar business. And next to that, again you will see C is going to come and start similar business. So threat of entry in a small case of small businesses is very, very low. Correct? Suppose if you want to establish a car manufacturing company or an automobile company, what does it require? It requires huge capital. Then you need place. Then you need technology. Then you need, most importantly, clearance from all environmental, social, all other bodies where all it is required. Lot of legal compliances will be there. So in this case, threat of entry is very high. If things are not working out, then you will be using a lot of money in this process. Correct? So threat of new joinee or a new entry is an important factor. As long as threat of entry is high, there will be very few players in the market. If threat of entry is low, then there will be many players. I hope you understood the decision. Let me take you through one more time to avoid confusions. Let me erase this. What is the decision making in case of threat of entry? If a threat of entry is low, then there will be more competition because everybody enter into that business. Then you have to reduce your prices, so profit will be less. If threat of entry is high, then there will be less competition and there is a possibility of earning more profit. So threat of entry includes what all factors we consider threat of entry: time and cost of entry, right? If you enter into automobile industry, huge amount you have to invest and you don't get return immediately in the first year. So it is a high threat of entry. If you want to start a small office or a small shop, the threat of entry is very low. People, anyone can enter there and start the business. So then there will be a huge competition. The same way, specialist knowledge. If any business, if you want to start, or any profession you want to start, say for example, CS profession, practicing CS or a practicing CA, the threat of entry is very high because unless you are a CA or unless you are a qualified CS, you will not be able to do CS firm. If you are, unless you are not a qualified CA, you will not be able to do a CA firm, right? The threat of entry is very high here. That's why you see low number of CA firms practicing or a low number of CS firms. But general tax consultant, threat of entry is very, very low, right? Any BCom graduate can start tax practice, or any other graduation also. Graduate can also do a normal tax or a maintenance of accounting work and other things. So in that case, threat of entry is very low, so there will be a lot of competition. In this case, threat of entry is very high and competition will be low. So, or same way in the technology also, right? If it is high, like specialized knowledge is required, then threat of entry will be very high. If unspecialized, anyone can do it, then threat of entry is very low. And economies of scales, economics of scale. It means if certain businesses requires large capital and you have to take up in a large volume only, then only you get more profitability. So in that case, threat of entry is again high. Cost advantage, technology protection, barriers of entry. Barriers of entry means in country like India, there is certain restrictions. Foreigners cannot enter into certain businesses. Like for example, retail businesses, foreigners cannot enter. That's why Metro Cash and Carry, which was there earlier, owned by German company. Sorry, I think it is German company, I believe. So Metro Cash and Carry, they sold their business to Reliance. They tried it, they waited for a long time, and now they sold it to Reliance. Same way, Tesco entered in India through Star Bazaar, but not as a direct player. The limitations are there, certain industries. But there are certain areas where no barriers, the foreign investors can come and directly invest in those businesses. So that's why you can see like Amazon or now Walmart acquired Flipkart, right? There is a threat of entries. The barriers are low there. Sorry, barriers are low, so many people can enter there. But at the same time, in case of certain industries, barriers of entry is very high, means threat of entry is very high. So summarily, threat of entry is restrictions or challenges for entering into that industry. If threat of entry is high, then it is profitable because it requires huge capital, specialized skill, and some advantages, cost advantages, technology skill. And in those cases, profitability will be very high because there will be a very, very few number of competitors. In case threat of entry is very low, in that case, profitability will be less because there will be more and more competitors which are entering into that particular industry. Okay, moving to our next point. Okay, moving to next point is bargaining power of suppliers. Bargaining power of suppliers is all about, say for example, again automobile industry, car manufacturer, they need lot of accessories. If there are, for example, again, tire is required for automobile company. If there is only one supplier for tire, like say CEAT tire, then he can charge whatever the price he wants. Correct? So number of suppliers will matter. Otherwise, if there are only one or two suppliers, then they will fix the price and this will increase input cost, right? It will increase the cost, okay, cost of the final car. So that's why, and similarly, there are many accessories are needed by companies. If there are multiple suppliers, for example, in tire industry, we don't have only CH, we have Goodyear, we have JK tires, we have Bridgestone, foreign companies. There are many more, right? MRF, very popular one, right? So there are many. So as long as number of suppliers are more, then bargaining power of supplier will be less. Because if say charges more, then they can go to Goodyear. If they charges more, then they can go to other company. So that's why bargaining power of supplier is also very important. To get into any industry, you need to see what all accessories we need and are we getting those accessories from multiple suppliers or multiple suppliers already exist in the market. In that case only we have to enter into an industry. Otherwise, if there are no multiple suppliers and if you are depending on one or two suppliers, then this is going to be a very challenge. I hope you are clear with this explanation. Bargaining power of suppliers is very important decision. If there are more number of suppliers, then bargaining power of supplier will be low. Okay. And if the suppliers are in like the size of those suppliers are very small, small companies are providing product to you, then also their bargaining power will be very less because they look for customers and they sell at a cheaper rate. So this kind of analysis also we need to do before getting into an industry. So summary, bargaining power of supplier, if it is more, then it is a risk. Bargaining power of supplier is less, then it is a beneficial. Why? If bargaining power of supplier, if it is high, suppliers will sell at a high cost to us. High cost, right? High cost means it increases expenses and reduces profit. So that's why bargaining power of supplier should always be a low. When it will be low? When there are more suppliers, when there are many small suppliers. Okay, number of suppliers are more, number of size of supplier will be low. In those cases, it is bargaining power, we will say it low. So which is beneficial? Bargaining power of supplier should always be low. If it is high, then it is a high cost for us. Same with bargaining power of customer. Of course, we need customers and we need customers in huge numbers. Correct? Customers, we cannot restrict that we should have only few customers. No. Bargaining power of customer is always normally high. We know that customer always look for always look for high quality and reasonable cost product. This is a universal rule where customer look for it. So in that way, to succeed in the market, we should see what is the target customer for us. We should look if huge number of customers are there and there may be many products in that segment, but still it is okay. See, customers are less means, see, for example, if customers are more, if customers are more, then obviously we can sell product at a higher price. Because if customer A misses this product, B will buy or C will buy or D will buy. There is no issue at all. Okay, if customers are very, very low, then their bargaining power is very, very high then. If customer number is 100, so total we have only 100 customers per particular product. What will happen when you manufacture it? You have to go to him only. You are a manufacturer, B is also there, they also go to him, them only, C also goes to them only. In this case, these 100 customers will play. Okay, whatever the price they want, they will take it, right? Otherwise, they will not buy it. Instead of that, if you go to a market where your customer base is 1 crore, so where A can also sell, 10% can come to A, 5% can go to B, 7% can go to C, whatever. So number of customers, size of each order, price sensitivity, all those things will determine the bargaining power of customer. If bargaining power of customer is high, then it is a threat for a company because they always expect lesser price. So bargaining power of customer should be low. So now let's recap these 3 points, whatever we discussed. Threat of new entry, bargaining power of supplier, and bargaining power of customer. Threat of new entry. Okay. Which is good? Threat of what is good for us? Good for any company. Threat of new entry should be very high because when it is high, competition is less. Very few people enter into industry. Competition will be less and more people will, and the profitability will be high. Correct? Second one, bargaining power of supplier. As long as bargaining power of supplier is low, then only it is good because they will supply at the price what company needs. That's why bargaining power of supplier should be low. Bargaining power of customer also should be low. If there is a high, then they expect low cost goods. Okay. Then comes the third and fourth. This is a summary what we discussed so far. Now let's move to a fourth one, threat of substitute. If there are more substitutes are available in the market, then it is again a risky. So substitute should be very less. Then only it is profitable. If there are more substitutes and substitutes are good, and in that case, it is a very risky. So there should be threat of substitute should be low. And then industry rivalry. So there should not be more number of competitors. Okay, if it is industry rivalry is very, very high, say for example, Lace and Parley. Okay, if Lace sells chips at 5 rupees and if Parley sells at 4, then again Lace will make it 3. So based on the competitor strategy, right? So prices will keep coming down. So that's why we should enter into a market where there is a less competition. So if industry rivalry is high, then it is not a profitable at all. Your part rival, your, like for example, Maruti Suzuki and Hyundai, right? All these two companies will always compete each other and then they try to reduce the prices. If there is a huge competition, then definitely prices will come down because if Maruti increases its car rate, Hyundai reduces it, people will move here. Again, there is a other questions also there, the switching cost and the loyalty and other things. As long as summary industry rivalry is low, it is good for us for a company to enter into that. If industry rivalry is very high, then it is riskier. If it is a risky means we should not do business. No, not like that. If it is riskier, then your strategy should be all according to that. Let us see summary of our discussion so far. Okay, which is good industry, which is bad industry, or which is good attractive industry, which is unattractive industry. In case of threat of entry, there should be high barriers of entry. In case of bargaining power of supplier, weak suppliers should be there. Again, bargaining power should be weak in case of customer. Threat of substitute should be very few substitutes or less. And then industry rivalry, there should be low competition. Then this is attractive industry. On the other side, this is here. So this is unattractive industry. Low barriers to entry, strong suppliers, strong customers, many substitutes, and intense competition is unattractive. If all these things are there, it is unattractive, then you have to make more proper strategies to get and succeed in those industries. Let us see an example and conclude this chapter. Here is a case study on automobile industry. Right side, I have given many players are there in the automobile industry. There means number of competitors are more. Audi, BMW, Mercedes on one side, luxury car segment, and after that we have our Maruti, Morris Garage, Hyundai, Toyota, Honda, Tata Motors, Renault, Mahindra, etc. Okay, so these all are the various players, or I might have missed one or two others also. Kia is there recently, but I missed it here. Nissan is also there, so that's okay. As of now, there are few things which I listed here. Let us see the Porter's model. Let us apply to Indian automobile industry. How is competitive rivalry? Just now we discussed there are many players. There is an intense competition, and it is unattractive. So we saw the factors right in the previous slide. Competitive rivalry is very high here because lot of number of competitions are more. Foreign entrants are coming, new technologies they are bringing, so it is unattractive. If you want to enter now into an automobile industry, it is unattractive because of competitive rivalry. But threat of entry, though people are entering, threat of entry is very high here. It requires large capital, And you have to break the customer loyalty. In India, if you ask anyone, first preference to buy cars is Maruti Suzuki. Now it is people are switching, but otherwise the brand loyalty is very high, and it requires anyone to enter into this industry requires lot of specialization and then capital funding. So that's why threat of entry is very high. Though there are 10 to 15 major players, the number of increasing number of players is very, very low. All these players who are there in market for a long time, except Morris Garage or Jeep or what is the other one which came recently? Morris Garage and Kia Motors, which entered recently. Otherwise, all are there in the Indian market for a long time. So very, very like in a decade, one or two new entrants we will be seeing here. Citroen, which has joined recently. So otherwise, threat of entry is very high, and so it is attractive. Bargaining power of supplier is very low. If you see, there is a survey where 50,000 plus unorganized suppliers. So means there are many small suppliers who are ready to supply for automobile industry. So there are large number of ancillary industries are there. So you get your products or accessories at a cheaper rate. So it will reduce your operation cost. So that's why bargaining power of supplier is low here, and then we have, so this is attractive. Bargaining power of customer. There is a huge number of middle class and upper middle class. India, mein, there is no problem of population at all, right? And most of the population falls under middle and upper middle class. For them, it is dream is to have a car, and there is a huge number of demand for it. Uh, it is very difficult to say that bargaining power of customer is low here. It is low to medium, but still it is attract. Okay. And then threat of substitute. Threat of substitute is little high here because if there is no car also, you can survive. We have different public transports available, rail, air travel. Now in Bangalore, you can see metros, two-wheelers, and then electric vehicles are also coming in. So threat of substitute is also high. Overall, it is unattractive. So this is an industry analysis for automobile industry. So based on this, your company's strategies can be framed. Okay, guys, I think that's it from my side on Porter's five forces framework. Thanks for listening, and I request you to please subscribe my channel and don't forget to share it with your family and friends. Thank you. Thank you so much.